Hi, welcome to Building SaaS with Python and Django. My name's Matt Lehman, and I am the streamer, and we work on Django apps here, Django projects that I have on the side that I'm working through week after week. And it's an opportunity to share with you a bit of what I know about Django and let you see what a real app looks like in the wild. So we're going to continue on my homeschool app this evening. I've got a couple and picking that one. And we're going to work on some kind of block and tackle sort of stuff, but stuff that needs to be done nonetheless. And so the plan is to work on an update page that will be essentially a form view, but it will also display some course information and do some reordering stuff. And it's got some complications in there. So that's kind of what my plan is. If this is your first time joining me, welcome. There's a bunch of ways you can keep in touch with me. There's a website above, mattlehman.com, where you can sign up for a mailing list. I write about Python, Django, that kind of stuff. I also have social accounts at various places like Twitter, GitHub. My usual handle is MBLehman. And if you are enjoying what you're seeing and you want to contribute and participate financially that way, I'd be really grateful for that as well. And I'm on Patreon as patreon.com/MBLehman. And I want to thank the patrons that I do have that help me cover costs for podcasts and all these other operating costs that come along with this for maintaining infrastructure and whatnot. So thanks to Rupert, Abdulaziz, Patrick, and Mark, and Eric. I really appreciate it and appreciate what you do. So thank you. Let's get into the project. So let's look at some code and figure out what's going on. And I think it might help to reorient folks with what the app has. And so I'm going to open up our trusty models diagram that I sometimes will use to give you a visual representation. And this is a homeschool app. And so there are terms that kind of come along with the territory of school. And the one we're going to focus on today, and I'm trying to get it right dead center, is this grade level form, or grade level model, excuse me. And I said form because we want to make a form for this. But essentially, we need a way to update this thing. And we're also going to do some display on the page that will do updating of any related courses as well. So the way I've got all this modeled out, if I can find the other link, I'm too zoomed in, sorry y'all. There is a course model here somewhere. Why am I not finding it? That's crazy. There it is. Okay, it's hard to keep up with this diagram because every time I generate it, the tool that generates it moves things around. So if I add a new model or change anything, stuff gets shuffled around. And the relationship here doesn't seem very direct because it's not. There's a many-to-many field relationship. Well, I guess here it is, right? It's on this through model. And that is for capturing that a grade level can contain many courses. Many courses make up a grade level, and that's what a student is working on. But one of the features of my app is that a course can be in multiple grade levels. So two students can, even if they're in different grades, can share a course because this is homeschooling, and sometimes there are courses and common things that kids will take, and in order to save effort on the parents' part, they might have this shared experience. So in order to model that, I had to do a many-to-many table, which is what this through model table represents. And there's an extra wrinkle in here in that my customers want the ability to order their courses, and the ordering it matters what grade level you're considering. I can't just have an order and apply it to both grade levels because let's say you have two students, and for whatever reason the parent wants most of the kid A's work to happen in the morning and most of kid B's work to happen in the afternoon, and that individual wants like an overlap between them for the shared courses. So you can see in the sequence of how things should be displayed in that scenario, a course for kid A should be at the bottom of their list, while at the same time, the same course should appear at the top of the list for kid B. And so the only way really to do that is put the ordering information on the many-to-many field, the joining model that groups them. And that's, you can see it here. It might be a little hard to see. Let's see if I can zoom in a little bit. I have done that. So on this model, and you can see it's a subclass of this ordered model, there's this order field that is determining its relationship. I bring all this up because that's a big part of what we need to do with this page. I need to have a place where a user can switch that ordering and affect the display. So my thought is to make a grade level editing page that will give them the ability to change the name of their grade level, which is a feature that is missing right now anyway. And also on that page, display the list of courses with some up, down, narrow arrow navigation that will allow them to move a course up or down for that particular grade level, which will affect this order field here on this ordered model. So that's the plan. That's enough description. Let's get into some code. And actually, I guess probably we should see the context of where this is going to exist as well, because that'll be something to get into the equation. So let's start up the application. And I've got it going. And now we'll launch it. It's at port 5000 here. And there is some stuff on the school year. The school year is where I've got all of this information. And you can see here, I've got some sample data that's embedded in this, and this is second grade. And so my thought here is the natural place to put the ability to edit the grade. I guess there's a couple spots that this could go. I think what I'm going to do is use the same kind of pencil icon for editing that I've got as the edit ability for a course, and I'm going to use it on the grade level. I'm going to have to fiddle with the colors a little bit because there's a background color here that's going to make this get totally washed out since there's not enough contrast. But I'm going to try and put it over in this corner. The other spot it could possibly be is right next to the grade level, but I don't know that I want it to distract in that way because, frankly, how often are you going to be changing the name of your grade level over the course of a school year? Probably almost never. The real reason that I think people will actually want to use it is for course ordering, is the most likely primary use case. But that's just where I want to put it. So I think maybe to start, before we even put in any view at all, let's put in a little arrow pencil icon over here and see if we can make that look decent. So that particular page, this is the school year template. So we need to go in there and find that. And it's the school year detail page. And we've got, this is a bunch of stuff that probably needs to be refactored. You can see this template. It's 214 lines, which isn't crazy long, but it's long enough that yeah, there's a bunch of stuff in here that needs to probably be extracted in different parts. But here's the core of it, where we've got the grade level name, and you can see right here that the existing header. In fact, let me just say, let's just change it so you can see the impact of this. This is the grade level that we were seeing. So we've got hello. If I refresh, we'll see hello second grade, or we should, once it pops up. So there it is, hello second grade. So right now it's just a header, which means if we inspect it, it's probably going to span the entire distance as it did. And you can see as I hovered on it, it's got some margin there, and that's okay. But it's not going to be what we want in order to get the icon over here as I desire. So what I'm going to do is wrap the header into a flex box, and the flex box will be a flex row that we can control and push and do a flex grow over here to push the icon all the way to the other side, and that'll work that way. There are other ways that you could do that. You could take two different spans and do a right alignment on the one span, I think, but that's not the effect that I'm going for. And I think it's also less flexible. So let's delete the hello that we added there. Let's add a div and put another div here. And we'll say the class is going to be a flex, and I think it's flex row by default, but I'm going to be explicit about it and put it in here just so that it's very clear on the intent. And so that the impact of that is nothing thus far. We still have the same margin that was there before. The only difference is now there's a couple of extra, there's a div that's wrapping around it. So the other thing I want to do is put a div that's going to be, it's essentially going to be our growing div that's going to take up the maximum amount of space. So the width is already spanning all the way across. And that's because if you look up above here, we've got a width full identifier on the class, which forces that gray box to take up the maximum amount of space. So we don't need to add that as a qualifier. So if we do flex grow, then that should fill up the space. And I'm going to end that div, and then we'll take another div, and let's delete all those classes, and just say, again, let's just say hello. I don't know why. I keep wanting to type hello world, and I'm stopping. So I get to hello W. But this is just so we can see if I did this right with the flex box. There should be hello on this side if everything is hunky-dory. And it is. So, and there's also clearly like some work that needs to be done here because I've got margin goofs that it needs some space on that side. So the next step is to find the SVG icon, which should be, which one is it? That's the last loop, so that's not the correct one. Here it is, edit course. And in fact, I'm going to take, let's go ahead and take the anchor tag along for the ride. And we're going to put it there, delete the end tag, and put that end tag back there. And we'll let Vim help save me from myself with a bunch of formatting help. And it still didn't quite get it right. So div is it's close. All right, let's check how that looks. Whoops, what did I do wrong? Oh, okay. I'm using this anchor, but there's no course at the point when the template is rendering. So I'm just going to delete this for now. It's not the right link anyway, so it doesn't really matter. So we're just going to put that with a placeholder hash. And now we've refresh, and I suspect it's going to look pretty bad. Yeah. So it is too jammed over. There's also, I think it's kind of hard to tell because this is all the way up to the other side. So in fact, let's do this. Let's just comment out the flex grow for a minute, and we'll see how bad it is. Yeah, you can see it right there. So the icon is way jammed up high. So I think that means that our flex box is wrong. And I think what we want to do is make our flex box have items center, I think is the right attribute, which should like middle align the flex box. Yep, that seems to be the right thing. So now we've got the icon where we want it to be, and I don't know why. I must be getting the color from the context. Yeah, it's filling with the current color, and the current color is whatever's here, which is getting that from this higher level div, so BG gray. So it's actually not bad. Well, we'll play with it. It's better. I thought it was going to be this really light gray and totally washed out. So we definitely need more contrast. Otherwise, people are never going to notice it. Especially, I've not run this through any accessibility tools yet, but it would be really obvious if we did, because it'd probably say like, you don't have enough contrast here, and it fails all sorts of accessibility standards. I want to go ahead and change this now before I forget. This is going to be edit grade level, and this little title attribute on an SVG, that is the hover. When you hover on something, so there you see edit grade level. SVG is a little bit different from the like an image tag. So it's like the equivalent of the alt tag or the alt attribute on the image tag, which will do alternative text for an image to describe it. But the equivalent for an SVG is the title. So that's why I'm putting it there, so that people who might not know what this little pencil icon is supposed to be, which is totally possible, will then be able to hover and see, oh, it's for editing the grade level. All right, let's fix this now, though. It looks like junk, and it needs to stop looking like junk. So there is some margin right on the SVG, but it's 1. So there's probably, if we inspect this, there's probably this teeny tiny, you can barely even, I can't even see it with my, I've got flux on, so let me turn that off. But it's yellow, I imagine. Yeah, it's right there to the side, but it's barely noticeable. So what I want to do is use the same amount of spacing that I have on, I kind of want to make it equidistant on the side. So looks like we have got ML6 on the grade level header. So I want to switch that and, wow, put ML5 or MR6 on the icon, which should bring it in to an equidistant amount and give it a reasonable amount of spacing. So it's got some space, it's got some breathing room. The other thing that I want to do now is we want to do, now the way this worked below is the SVG icon is got this fill current attribute. And so what fill current means, to my understanding, is SVG is a little funny. The way it's working is this fill current is CSS that makes it look for the color of the parent. And if you didn't have that, it would just default to whatever color it had, which I think is probably black. So we're going to set some text colors on our icon at the, we'll do it at the anchor level here because it just is one parent above it, and we'll play with it. And so I don't think I want text blue 900, which is what the grade level is. That's too, well, maybe that's not even the color that it would be. I think it's just defaulting to black right now because there's nothing above. So unless there's something at the top of the template, there's nothing defining the color. So let's try, since it's still in that same area as the grade level, let's try text blue 900, see how it looks. It might look okay. It might look not okay. It might not even be noticeable. So it's, if in fact we can inspect it, see what color it is currently. It told me nothing there. Come on, inspect. There we go. So we want to check out the SVG, and the color is, the fill is the current color. So we're going to go up, 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 and it is using what? I'm not even seeing where it says text color anywhere. So I'm guessing that's meaning that it's using the system black, and it looks pretty black to me. In fact, we can do this. Yep, it's black as black gets. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, so now we know that. We're gonna try text blue 100 or 900 to see how that looks. See if it brings it in line. It might be, well, let's just wait and be patient and see. So it takes off, it's barely noticeable. So if you play with Tailwind, they have a series of colors that go from 100, which is the light side, all the way up to 900. And if the 900 cases, they're really dark. But the intent of them is to have some hint of the color in it. And the reason for doing that is a graphic design thing that, you know, in real life, when we look at things that are black, like if I'm looking at this microphone foam, or I've got my headphone cord over here, if you really think about it, it's not actually black in reality. Like I'd say, yeah, that's black. But if I really had to give it a true assessment, it's really a dark gray because all the light is bouncing off of it. And so this design theory and graphic design stuff says that, you know, our eyes really just aren't used to seeing that many things that are just jet black. So by offering these very dark colors that are almost black, what it does is it's this very subtle clue to your eye that this is more natural than you might otherwise envision. And as I'm looking at this, so I see the little pencil icon. I've got the chat window on the side, which does have a pure black background. And yeah, the black background just looks like this black hole of like, it's too dark, it's too much. It's still in this context, I don't want to draw a lot of attention to it though, so we're going to lighten it up. But I just wanted to make a little side note of, it didn't look like it changed much, but it changed enough to add some blue hue to it. And there was a reason why it did that. So let's bring it down to maybe, and I have no idea where it's going to be appropriate. So we're going to let's try 600. And this is where blue is probably not going to be the right fit. So let's switch to gray and see the impact of that. Because again, I want to make this not a prominent thing. In fact, let's try 400. I don't want to lose it too much though. So that's going to be the challenge. I don't know why I think 400 actually might be where this one is right now. No, that's got to be lighter. What is this? Yeah, that's 300. Okay, so I don't think we can go any lighter than 400. And in fact, as I look at this, what it's doing for me, and I don't know how well it translates through on the stream, is these feel, because this is on a background color and because this is on white, it kind of ties them together. My eye is deceiving me and saying that this text 300 is feeling like this text 400, and they feel like they pair well together. That's just my perception of it. So I'm going to stick it there. And then the other one, I think when I inspected this, the hover on this was text 600. Yeah, for the hover was 600. So we're going to do one better. So it's going to be like upshifted just a little bit. So it's going to be hover is text gray 700. I think that's going to be the right answer. And so as I hover that feels pretty natural. It feels very similar to this, and it's going to be a very subtle thing. It's like there's enough contrast here to make it not as washed out as it would be if I went down a step. But there's the same step level between this is 300 to 600, this is 400 to 700, and it kind of works with your brain, I think. So I think that's about as much of that design element as I want. And we don't have a link right now, but I think I just wanted to give you a sense of like, where is this going to be for this next page that we're working on? And I'll put a to-do comment here so that we can come back and actually add the link. And I need to make it a template comment so that it doesn't get rendered. So there we go. We now have this place where we're going to put this new update view, and I think we're ready to go. So what's the next step? The next step is going to be, I guess, creating the URL, defining the expectation of what that's going to be, creating a view, and it is it's about as vanilla of a form view as I can make it. It's really going to be just the ability to modify the name attribute. And the reason for that is because, well, I guess I already killed the graphic, but there's not much to the grade level right now. I think it's just a bunch of links to other stuff. It links to has a foreign key to the school year. It has a UUID as its internal identifier, and then a name attribute. So there's nothing there. It's super boring, which is great. Like those kind of models are good to crank out. So let's get on our merry way then and see what it'll take to do this. So we want to go to, the grade levels are defined in the schools app. So I'm going to bring up the schools URLs file, which is here. And I have this area somewhere where here's our create view for the grade levels. And so the way I'm going to do this, how am I going to do this? This is a good question. I think I'm going to follow along with this pattern that I have defined here. So, check out these three views. And we're only going to end up with two, but this is a good starting point. So when I wanted to create a school break, so it's a vacation day, it's just what I'm calling it here. I have to pass in the school year and give it a UUID so that the new school break can be associated with a school year, and that's a prerequisite. The same is true of the grade level. But when it comes time to editing the break to change the dates, I switch it so that it no longer has the school years in the path. Now it's just directly referencing breaks. Because there's a UUID on there that's a unique identifier that will make it so that we don't have to have a big long path. So I think what I'm going to do, I know what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to copy it in the right spot so that it is proper syntax. I was putting it in the wrong spot there for a second. And we're going to say grade levels, and grade levels is going to accept a UUID because that's the ID that is unique and will be hard to discover and is the thing that we want. And we're going to change this to be not school break edit, but grade level edit. And for the moment, I'm going to leave it as a school break view, only because I want to test out one thing. So now that we've defined the view, even though it's sharing a view, and it shouldn't be, I want to go ahead and set that template and make sure that we get this right, and then we can set that other template aside. So I want to get rid of this to-do, essentially. I don't like having stuff hanging over my head. So this name should be, what should it be? It should be URL, and it's the schools is where all of these URLs are defined, and it's grade level edit is what we're working on. And it's going to take, I've got these all, the grade levels had to be wrapped up in this extra dictionary for other reasons that I'm not going to get into. So in order to get access to the grade level, we need to do grade level info, then grade level, and then we can do UUID. And that should be the right thing. And then I guess we need to close off the URL tag here. So doing that, we should now have enough to revisit the page. And if I refresh this thing, it's going to have, you can see it in the bottom left corner of my browser. It does have the right UUID. If I went to this page right now, though, it's probably going to give me a 404 because the view that it's connected to is looking for school breaks, and there's not going to be any school break with that UUID. So it's just going to blow up and say like, hey, I can't find what you're looking for, so take that. But we do have the satisfaction of knowing that it is going to a view. It is going to a view that expects that proper thing, and I think we're pretty well positioned to go ahead and move on to the next part. So let's turn off the server for a second. We don't need it running. So let's move on and close that template again. And let's bring up the schools views. And I'm going to actually start with the school break update view because it's going to be the thing that we most likely need. It's got some query sets. Yeah, I don't know if all of this will be needed, but I think some portion of it will be. And now that I'm looking at what's here, there's definitely some portion that we'll have to take advantage of. That's okay. So there's the school break create view. And I've got these kind of, my URLs file is sort of keeping the same order as my views file. So if I've got the school break create view and then the school break update view, and then above that is the grade level create views, then that means where I should put them, I should put it right after this grade level create view here. Okay, so now it's time to actually change this name here. And I promise I'll get to some tests for this too. This is something that's like, there's not a lot that's new here for me. So I don't want to overdo some of this stuff. And we're going to have I believe it's a grade level form. Is that right? I think that's right, but I don't actually want to call it the form. So I've been using form for when I have some of these forms are both for creation and for updating. And my Well, actually, now that I say that, there is a create view right here. Yep, all right, so I need to use the grade level form. So we're gonna have to tweak an already existing form. That's gonna be interesting as if I'm putting also courses on that page. So we'll continue to use that as is. And, oh, the nice part is we get to take advantage of the grade level form is already existing because I had it, which means we probably have saved ourselves a lot of stuff from validation and things that I've done at other points. We'll get back to that in just a second. Let's go through and make sure I don't miss anything that's copy and pasted. So the slug field and the slug URL keyword arguments, those are correct. So that's coming from, this name down below. We've got this path part here. That's UUID, and that's the name. And so it's specifying both the type, which I believe is the first one, and the variable name, which is the second one. I get that backwards sometimes. So if I have that out of order, one is the type, one's the variable name. And so that's one aspect. And then we need to change this to the grade level update view to point it at the right thing. So that's what it's looking for in the URL, and slug field is the actual attribute that's going to try and do the lookup for in the model. So to get our query set, we give it it's going to be grade level. In fact, there's probably, it doesn't exist yet in the create view. So it's going to be grade level, which apparently I haven't used at this point. And we are going to filter on this is all right so far. And I don't, well, we'll probably need the school year. We're going to want to display the school year as well to show where it's coming from. So that's fine to keep in the select related. And looks like this other school break one was, I added the school year to the context. I'm cool with keeping that as well. So we'll follow all of these paths, and I think the form needs the user. So everything about this was actually pretty good, except looks like we don't have the grade level model in this context. So let's go add that. We're going to go to the schools models area, and the grade level is in the schools app, so it's right here. Okay, so this is going to be interesting because this template already exists. So this whole view will do something, but it's all going to be create specific. So it's going to be putting an object in the context that is the actual object, but we're not going to see it. So let's bring it up with the debug toolbar. And so it's going to look like a create page with nothing in there, except that we will then be able to see the object that's from the Django debug toolbar. So I'm going to click this now, and instead of a 404, we should actually go somewhere. And you can see that some of this is already correct, which is nice. So the school year attribute is already filled in. That's cool. I didn't realize that I'd done that part. We have this name. The name's already filled in. That's kind of cool as well. So a lot of this is done. So what we need to do is change this to be an update text and then update. And then after that, it's about showing the extra courses that are actually in the grade level and putting some buttons on them so that somebody can mess with them. So there's the update portion is just going to be this top part, which is nice. And yeah, I think that's pretty cool. We actually don't have nearly as much to do as I thought. So yay for having forms that already do the right thing. And it just means there's a lot less to test too. I was thinking I'd have to go and like test if all of the users are right. And no, none of that's true because all of the existing form already has those tests because I have 100% coverage on this application. So there's just a lot of stuff that I don't have to redo knowing that I've covered those areas. Okay, let's take a look at the grade level view or the grade level template, sorry. and we'll see the areas where we need to update. So here's the school years already in the context. That was the thing I was looking for. And there's the bit that's missing that we need to add, and that it exists in a lot of these create views, or update views, I should say, is a field that I called create, that I put in the context. So here it is in the context. We're going to add it to this grade level create view, actually. So I want to say, like, if you're in a create mode, you're going to say the word and if you're not in a create mode, then you're going to say the word update, which is just the pattern that I followed for a bunch of these things. So now we need to come in here and we need to say, what do we need to say? We need to say if create, then we have add, or else we have update, and we want to end that. Okay, that's one spot. Unfortunately, there's a handful of these that we have to do, which is no fun, but it's reality. So else, update, and then end if. And there's an add here. So there's actually not too much, but it's kind of boring and repetitive. And I need to actually, this is one area where I am going to have to add a test for it, because the current create view does not check for that context, but that's a pretty easy check to add. So we're going to say update and then end if. So I think that's all the initial template modifications that we have to make for this whole thing to actually work. Now, none of this has unit test, which it's going to fail my coverage requirements, because I make sure that everything has 100% coverage. But if I refresh this page, it should say update now. And let's say second grade again. I don't know. And hit update, and there it is. Cool. So how did this work? Why did we have so little to do? It's because I used a model form. I have this grade level create view here that is already using this grade level form, which if we go over to the forms area, is a model form that's based off of grade level, and it requires the school name and the school year and the name, but we're not changing the school year. Actually, that's interesting. I wonder what I don't think I messed with that data. Let's look at the grade levels, make sure I didn't mess up the foreign key. No, still got the association to the school year. So, oh, it's because the template already had the school year hidden in it, right? Yeah. There it is right there as a hidden value. So we already had everything set up to make the appropriate create view. And since the model form already knows how to populate these, and because I made these reusable form field widget things, I didn't have to add anything here. Like, it was just, everything was already wired up properly, which was pretty cool. So now we've got the confidence that the grade level's still working correctly. The other thing that we can go in here and edit this again, and we can take return it to its previous state. So it's still second grade. And that works. And now I want to test out on the other side of this. So the create view is this other half. And now it's saying you can't see the title of the tab, but I can see it. It says add grade level. It says add grade level and add grade level. That's what we want. There is a bit that's missing, and that's that these things usually have like a cancel button on the edit view, which I need to go add. So if we look at, say, the school break form, and a lot of these are pretty vanilla. I'm not adding a delete view yet, but I do want to add this grow we're going to bring up the grade level form, and here it is. So it's on the 3/4 side, and it looks like in order to make that work, oh, we just need, all right, we will have to do a little bit of work. So this is, the way this is working right now is, this is my older style of doing these forms, where I just like slam the button over to the right because there was no other buttons. But as we are about to see, I'm about to add a second button, and that's just not going to work well anyway for this. We're going to delete the text right. So delete that. And we want to pick up all the stuff that is over to the double quote mark there. So put that here. And so it's going to be a flex, blah, blah, blah. You can see all the stuff it's doing. It's going to align things the way we expect it to. And now it gives us the ability to add in, I can put in a flex grow div right there. And the other thing, all right, let's check on it that far. Let's see how, if we broke it. Okay, still looks okay. Identical point of view, but it's doing a dramatically different way of doing that positioning. This is now, there's an element you can't see, that's the flex grow, that's on taking up the other 3/4, and it's right here. It's taking up all that space. It has no size, but it's there and it's present. So we want to return to here, and now I'm going to actually take, what am I going to take? Let's take the cancel button. This is good to have anyway. That was just missing basically. And let's put it in the grade level form. So like if you don't want to create a grade level, you shouldn't have to. And you can see that these are actually right up next to each other. So there's also some padding that I need to add to, or a margin, sorry, that I need to add to one of these spots. So it looks like I used ML2 on the other spot. So let's do an ML2 on the button. And what that'll do, once it reloads, is move that over. So now that when we have the hover on the cancel, you can see there's a little bit of space between them. So we've got the cancel button that takes us back to the school year, which is great. Let's get rid of this inspector. And we can add a grade level, but now we have a new feature that wasn't there before. We have a cancel button on it, which is cool. And we can, so the real reason I want the cancel button is you might decide, actually, I don't want to change the name. I don't want to have to save it or necessarily use the back button. I want to be able to have an option in the UI to take me out of that. So we've got that. We've got, yeah, I think we're good there. Let's write some tests, and then we'll move on to the second half of this, which is going to be displaying some courses for the grade level. And then once we have the displays for the courses, we can add little toggles or little buttons to make courses go up and down, and make the views that use the ordered model methods that are available to us from the package that we're using to make those changes, which will be the feature that we're trying to get to. Okay, so let's get to, where do we need to go? We need to go to the test file. I'm pretty convinced that nothing about the view itself needs to change. It's got everything that I expect to be in there. So we're going to go to schools, test views, and start from there. And let's start with the school break. School break update view is where we're gonna start as our thing to copy from, because it's the right thing. And the school break has a get, a post. Yeah, okay. And there's some good tests in there. So seems like a good starting. And we're gonna put it after the grade level create. That's a good place to go. So let's change this to be grade level update. And then anywhere it says school break, I think I want to just change the whole thing to be grade level. Let's highlight all of these. And we're going to substitute them and say school break, grade level. Let's substitute all of them. So 23 substitutions. Now we're going to have to go by these tests one by one because some of these changes don't make any sense. This is now a grade level that's using a school break factory. That's not right. So we need to use the grade level factory. And thankfully, there is a commonality between school break and the grade level, so we don't actually have to change the school year and the school, the inner attribute. We just need to change the factory name. In fact, while I'm thinking about it, so I don't, before I make any other edits and have to convince my editor otherwise, forget it. So grade level factory. Let's find the next school break. Okay. And the other thing to remember is that we want to add a little bit of context checking for the create view. I want to ensure that the create view has the create context is true. So we want to add an assert for context create. And that just tells me, it signals to me as a reader of the test that this is a pretty critical part of the context that the template is depending on. If I run that test, it should pass because I did add that for the create view. In fact, we can also go down to the update view, and we want to assert the opposite. We don't want it to be there, or really, we want to say assert that create, because it's not even, we didn't even put it in there. So we want to say not in. Will this work? Can I just get the whole context by saying get context? I actually don't know. Nope, I can't. Well, phooey. Let's look up test tools. I used Django Test Plus. It's got get context. There's got to be a way to get the context itself. Because there's the way to get the actual value. There's the way to assert that the key is in the context, but we want to do the not of that. Well, that's a bummer. Huh. Well, okay. It's not that important. I've seen it. I trust it. Sometimes things just aren't worth it. So that's good enough. And now we have a get view, and that works. We have the unauthenticated access to, this proves that the login required decorator is there. That works. We're going to need to rework the post, so let's revisit that in a minute. And we do want to check. Let's change this, and I probably need to check on, yeah, I'm going to need to check on the doc strings too. So the content of this is correct. I think that there's a grade level, and the important aspect of this test is that this grade level is not accepting the user's school, so it's somebody else's grade level. And you basically are, the test is checking that, hey, this user is not just allowed to check on anybody's grade level, right? So that should 404. So that test is correct. The doc string needs to be updated. So a user can only edit their own grade levels is what we want to change that to. And I'll come back to the post in a second, as I said. And there's no doc strings on the first two methods. So a user can update a grade level for their school year. And so we definitely need to have the school year, but we want to change it to a different name. And I know that the names for grade levels are auto-generated. So they're going to be, I think they even have a sequence number or something in them. So if I pick just about anything, that would be correct. So we're going to say I don't know, 12th grade, whatever. Doesn't really matter. And make sure that the name is 12th grade on the other side. We'll get rid of this other stuff. But we still do want to assert that it's going to be a redirect back to the school year after that changes. That's good. I think that should be the post test. That should pass. Those are the tests we wanted to add. So before we move on to the course stuff, let's do one last check. Let's run the test suite with coverage to make sure I didn't miss anything. And we'll commit that and then move on to the second half of this. Okay, full coverage, great. So looking at stuff, we added the check for the create variable in the create view. That's good. We added these new tests that cover the update view to help give it full coverage. We added the URL to actually give us a place to hook into. We added the view itself, which is largely a copy of the school break update view, reworked to use the existing form and the existing template. And then we went into the template and tweaked it so that it respected the create variable in the context, and then changed the buttons to give it a cancel button and give it just everything that it needed. We tested it out too. We proved that it worked. And then finally, we gave ourselves a place on the school year page to actually go click on it and see it. So all of those changes are good. And the black formatter hook failed. And it's for whatever reason. So I don't have my Vim and my black. So Vim is auto formatting in black. It's using black to do it. But the version from my editor and the version from my pre-commit hook are slightly different. So sometimes I get format failures because there have been subtle changes in black. So we're going to add the grade level edit view. And this is for issue number 235. So that gets us what? It gets us the ability to update the grade level name, and we link to it from the school year page. So the next thing we want to do is display the courses with a table of information. And then what else did I put in? So it's just these two issues right now. Okay, I don't think we're going to get to the other issue. So we'll focus on just displaying this one, and that should be good enough. So if we can get to the display, then, and even, I don't know if that I want to put the buttons in there yet, but let's get to the display of the table first. And I think we need to look at the school model, the actual grade level model for a moment. So ordering, as I mentioned earlier, and you might be joining the stream later, and so I'll mention it again. The ordering, I had to put it on a many-to-many, what's called a through model. The through model is used when you have two tables that have a many-to-many relationship, but you want to add extra information for that relationship. So a good example might be like if you had a many-to-many model on, like let's say you had a member website and you had a member and another member on your website, and they are connected to each other through a membership. And one member can be connected to many other members, and then another member could be connected to any other members. So it's definitely a many-to-many relationship. It just happens to be on the same model, so it may not be the best example. But the membership class could contain information like, when did these two people get connected to each other, or whatever. There's not really a good name for that with grade levels and courses. There's no like intermediate thing that exists in the world. So I chose this rather boring but very descriptive grade level courses through model name, and it represents exactly that. And because the ordering was on here, we have to actually do the lookup of the courses through this through model thing. And so that's what this model method is for. So we'll use this one on the edit page, and we'll only display it on the edit page. And the nice part about this, I think, is that we just, in the template, can call get ordered courses. We don't have to do anything in the context. There's nothing fancy there. And it'll just be this iterator that we can loop over that will give us the correct thing to display. And it's just selecting the proper course, so we can display the name, we can get the UUID. It'll all be there. So let's return to our form. And this is going to go, I'm going to do this in a silly way right now, or it's going to look like junk, but it'll get the job done. So we're going to say if this is not a create view. So in other words, we have an existing grade level. Then we want to do a for loop and say for a course in grade level dot get ordered courses. And that should do the query along the way. And we should be able to say div and then the course name and close off the div. Let's fire up the server again and let's see it go. Let's return to our view here. And I'm not even sure that this listing here is in the right order. I think it is, but we're gonna confirm this. So actually, while we're doing that, I'm gonna bring up the administrative site. So we've got that, and we can bring up this edit page. And it didn't display at all. So what did I do? Did I spell it wrong? Grade level get ordered courses. Wasn't that the name? Get ordered courses. Oh, you know what? It's not in this as grade level with an underscore. That's not the name in the context. It says grade level because it's automatically generated by Django. And here we go. We've got what appears to be the ordered level, the ordering that we can see. And you know, how we can prove this, we can actually go back and go to, where did I put this? The ordering was possible to manipulate on the course, on the grade levels page, I think. So if I pick second grade, I believe I put this in here. Yeah, I put the through model in here so you can see, here's the ordering. So essentially what I'm trying to do for this edit page is expose this kind of functionality that's already available in the admin, but obviously we're not going to give users access to the administrative site. So let's just switch, I don't know, let's move history 2 to go after art 2 here. So let's move it down 1, and that'll reload this page. And now you see history 2 is after art 2. So here's history 2. If we refresh this, yeah, they reordered. So that's exactly what we want. The next thing to do is make this look nice, I guess. And to do that, I'm going to go and pull from a table style that I have elsewhere. And so let's go look around and see which one is the right one to use. I think the right one is going to be the one that is like the task listing. So here's a course. And the way this homeschool system is working is that a course is a collection of things you have to do. It's a collection of tasks. I don't want to edit that. I want to, yeah. So here's the view that I kind of want to show for the edit view as well. I want it to look very similar because I want to be able to add reorder. Yeah, reorder stuff with the up-down buttons that you see over here. And so since this is already going to be a familiar interface for the course, it would make sense that the grade level has a very similar look and feel. So we'll do this. We'll follow along with this table as much as we can. So we've got the definite data structure that we want, and I'm thinking ahead here that I'm wondering if my customers are going to want this feature to add a course after a course. Hopefully not. I think I'm just going to punt on that part for now. My real goal right now is to make the up and down arrows work. So let's ignore the pluses, but everything else on there is reasonable to have. So that is under the course detail page. And it's in, yeah, here it is. It looks like I've got, I'm sorry for being a little quiet here. I'm trying to think about the way this is done. Notice, so here's the table. And this table has the header. And that header is this top part, the task and the first line. And what's interesting about this is that I'm doing an if conditional check on whether to even show that header. And I think that's appropriate for this context for a new course because it might be empty. And if I really wanted to do this like exactly right, I might do a similar thing for the courses. Like if there's no courses to display, then you shouldn't show the header. So as I'm saying that, I think I'm convincing myself that I should do that. So there's a way that I don't want to do this query multiple times. So I could say like if grade level.get ordered courses, but that's not great. So instead what I want to do is use a with statement. So let's look at the built-in template tags, you know what I'm talking about. And frankly, because I need to remind myself, there is a statement, it's called with in the template tag syntax that I think uses the keyword as. So you basically do a call and assign it to a local variable for a certain scope. Oh, it doesn't use as, I would have gotten that wrong. So it's a good thing that we looked. And so you essentially, you're still setting a variable, that's the idea here, but it's only in the context of this. So if I want to not call this method multiple times, which is exactly the scenario, then what I'll do is I'll say with courses equals grade level dot get ordered courses. And then we have a with block. And so now, let's make sure I got this right. So now we have a for loop, and let's change this to just courses. And we'll refresh the page, and it should still look the same. Should, yeah, it does. The difference is like one version did the second version that we just did assigned to a local variable first within the template context, and the benefit is, well, let me see if I can show you the real benefit. Let's see how many queries this is anyway. I think I'm splitting hairs. It's not really that many queries, but it doesn't really matter. I kind of care. We have 5 queries. So this last query is the one that I'm talking about. It's doing the lookup through the through model, and so it's happening once. And so if I do, if I added, let's do this the wrong way. If I said if grade level dot get ordered courses, and I did this, and then said hello, so that's going to be a 6th query. If I refresh the page, it's 6 queries. It's doing the lookup on get course through model twice. But if we use the version that was stored in the with, then it goes back to 5, which is what we want. So that's the optimized version. So that was a trivial change, and it only saves a query, but I don't know, queries add up over time. So let's yank this chunk of text and put that there. And I'm going to change it to, instead of say task, I'm going to say course. It's the natural thing to put there. And I'm trying to decide, like, how much space does this really need? I think there needs to be more space here that isn't there currently. So let's put some space on the bottom of the form. Let's give it like let's try MB8, see how that looks. And let's compare, maybe I already have a value. Where's the other P tag? Yep, MB8, so that's, at least I'm consistent. So that this amount of space between the bottom button and the start of this table is the same as the amount of space between this button and this table. Well, what I don't understand is I thought I added, nope, never mind. I understand why. I was wondering about the yellow line, but that only appears from each of the rows that get rendered. So now we're going to come down to this, and I'm going to take this whole chunk that's in this for loop. I'm going to take all of it. And put it there. And delete the course name thing. Now I'm probably going to break rendering at this point. What is going on? Hold on. Nope, that's not what I want to do. Sorry. I want to move this stuff around and have the stuff line up properly, but it's not going the way I want. Okay. There we go. That should now line up. It's a bit obsessive of me, perhaps, but that's the way I am. Now, well, this is going to drive me crazy. There's now a missing div. Did I forget to copy something? Sigh. Yep, I think I missed a div. Okay, well, got them all in there. If I were to re-render this, it should blow up because there's some lookups there that no longer are correct. So we're going to go through this list and start tweaking stuff that's looking for tasks. So anytime we find task, we're going to replace it with course. And oh man, there's just a bunch of stuff in here I forgot about. There's a lot of features in this that are here that I'm not actually doing properly here. And there's a whole other like columns that I'd forgotten about that actually are existing here. So I want this to actually be, so notice this is 10 out of 12, this is 8 out of 12, and this is 2 out of 12, because there's a hidden column that was on that other page that would show grade levels if there were any. But that's not going to apply in this case. We're going to delete this section, and we're going to make this to be 10 out of 12, because this is a 12 grid system. And so we want to also get rid of this little thing here. Maybe. Looks like there's a div there for a reason, so I'll leave that there for a moment. And it's still not going to render properly, so we'll get to that. And we've got, so far that's looking okay. I think we're done with this. Let's just stare at just this whole table. We're going line by line here. So task, course. Well, I just said we don't want to do the create stuff, so we can delete this link because that was for a create. And then the actual up and down buttons are for things that don't exist yet. So I'm going to delete them for now. We just want the visual part of that. We're going to replace it with a hash for the moment. It's going to be the same two kinds of views as the course up and down buttons, or the task up and down buttons, but we're not there yet. Move course up, move course down, and is that it? Did I get it all? Nope, not quite. Course edit. I don't have a course edit. Okay. All right, for the moment, let's not worry about that link. I just want to see it render. All right, so we took these out, and we took out the links, I should say, but everything else looks pretty good. It's got the full list. The rendering, the styling is, well, I guess the styling's correct. We need to figure out why. I thought there was a course edit. Oh, it's probably just edit, because courses is its own thing. So I think we can get rid of course on here. Yep. And this will take us to the page. And it should even return us, in theory. Nope, took us to the back of the course. That's fine. That's something I can fix. So the nice part here is that someone can also get to their courses from here. I think that's not really the feature that folks are going to be using this for, frankly. I think it's just kind of a little bonus that it happens to exist here. What they're really going to want to use it for is these up or down arrows that are here. And I am noticing, so if we compare this to the, well, maybe it's the same. I'm trying to see, like there's some spacing issue here that I'm trying to judge why is it that way. Let's inspect this and see what the row is looking like. Okay. So I have a width 4 here. I'll probably change it to like a width 8 to fill it out, because I took away one of the buttons, so it's not quite lining up in the same way that it was. So let's try and change it to width 8 and see if it fills it in a little more consistently. Yeah, that's more consistent with this other page in terms of the spacing on the side. All right, cool. So time to decide what to do next. I think I want to just delete. There's a bunch of stuff in here that came with that extra template that I don't think I really need. So I'm going to delete it for now. Mainly this part right here about where to return to, because I think it's misleading. If we have that all that deleted, I want to make sure it still renders correctly. Now it's just it's a much more simple link just to the edit page. So it's not making any promises of like returning to pages. I think there's some advantage to having links that go back to certain pages and have like a flow to them, but it's not really reasonable to expect the whole app to like interlink and have navigation that goes back everywhere. So I'm not going to overthink that. So what we've got here is like, if you're in the edit view, then, and if you actually have courses, you're going to render this table header, and then you're going to render each row. And each row is going to display these up-down buttons. And the up-down buttons aren't doing anything yet. But what the up-down buttons will do when they work is they'll need to have two things actually. This will be important. They'll need to have both the grade level and the course, because if you don't have the grade level, you don't know which ordering matters, right? Because remember, it's the through model, the extra model that's connecting the two, that is the way to connect them. And I'm not going to do the actual views here on the stream. I think we're running up on a good amount of time, but I'll show you the way that I did this for the task, so you can have an idea in your head, and then the rest of this I'll just take offline because it's not super important to see. So let's look at the course views where these other views are, and it should be task up, I think. And it's a very straightforward action. The course task model is also an ordered model, just like the through model is. So by being an ordered model, which means that, in fact, let's complete the whole picture. So this course task is a subclass. The course task is a subclass of ordered model, and that means it gets its ordering properties from ordered model and some methods. And some of those methods are about moving up and down. And so the up and down things that you saw on that course task page, the entire view is this. Like it's pretty dull in what it's trying to do. All it needs to do is get an instance of that record. It needs to find it, and if it can, it says go up, or in the other instance, go down. And then it does a redirect back to the URL with that spot showing. And in the actual instance of this grade level page, I mean, the task list can be hundreds of tasks long, which is why my spouse wanted the ability to go to a specific item on there. But from my point of view, for this grade level page, there's only going to be, at most, I mean, you could have some crazy teacher, I suppose, but 20 to 30 would be like pushing it for an upper limit. So there's no need to like set them back at a certain position. So what I'll be able to do is either I'll show them, I'll do the ordering and move the course up or down in the ordering for the grade level, and then I'll redirect them back to that grade level edit page so that they can see that. Or I might even go ahead and send them back to the school year page, because they may not want to still be on that page. In fact, that's more reasonable, because most likely what they're doing, well, as I'm saying that aloud, no, that's not true. Because I can imagine a case where someone's like, ooh, this grade level that I just added, I need it to go up like 6 steps. And so they're going to want to stay on that page so they can hit up, 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 because I'm not giving them the ability to drag to the right spot in a single move. So it's going to have to redirect back to the grade level edit page, and when they're happy, then they can click cancel or navigate somewhere else. But these views, they're going to be almost identical to what you see here. They're actually going to be probably even less code, is the reality. And that's what's really going on with the rest of this stuff. So I'm going to stop there. I think we've seen quite a bit this evening, and we've been working on update views. We were able to take advantage of a lot of the existing code and update some templates. And then the last bit is this displaying of courses on this grade level page. And the piece that I'm going to do offline is making these couple of post views that will do this up-down action on courses. So I think that's where I'll call it. I'm going to take this content, and as usual, I'll post it up on YouTube. So if there's anything you want to revisit, you're welcome to do that. If you enjoyed what you were watching here tonight, I know it was quiet, but that's fine. Some nights are like that. If you enjoyed what you're watching, give me a like or a subscribe or whatever. I guess it's a follow on Twitch, or if you're over on the YouTube side catching this later, a subscribe. That'd be awesome. Hopefully you learned something here this evening, and I want to thank you for joining in. So have a good night. Take care.